Welcome back to Allergic to Stupidity. I hope everybody's had a good couple of days. If you're listening to me rant from Southern Ontario, Southwestern Ontario, Southeastern Ontario, Montreal, you'll know why I haven't been on in a couple of days. Anybody who's been watching the weather, you'll understand. I have spent 2 days with help from my tenants digging out. And in fact, is my windows right there, and realize I'm on the second floor. The snow comes a foot up. Now, that's the snow's accumulated on the roof, but it's there's the roof, and then there's the space, and then my window's up here. It's literally got up to the window. It's been a lot of snow. A lot. And my driveway's not a city driveway. It's not a farmer's driveway, but it's still 100 meters, 150 meters. Haven't figured that one out yet. Today's chit chat, no coffee. Today's chit chat is about communication. And it's something that happened this afternoon with all the shoveling. I got out a roast out of the deep freeze, threw it on the counter, and looked at my 20-year-old and said, if you'd like, because he loves to cook, right? If you'd like, you can do something with the roast. If not, don't worry about it. I'll do it. It's not a big deal. But he didn't want to, which is fine. But he didn't know how to just say no. And so it brings me back to the whole concept that we scream at young men and young women that if one party says no, then the answer is no. You don't argue, you don't debate, it's no. Now there's some times where, cop tells you to pull over, you got to pull over. If the teacher gives you an assignment that has to be done for school, you have to do the assignment. But at the same time, in the case of the teacher, you don't want to do the assignment, don't do the assignment, you're going to get a 0, but that's your choice. But when it's just in our families and we're chit-chatting amongst our friends and our family members, and somebody comes up with an idea, it's okay to say no. Do the no with an explanation that just says, you know what, no, I just want to crash today. Another day, I'd be interested in doing it, but I just don't feel like it. So there have been times I said, guys, do you want to go for supper? And I've had people in the house go, you know what, no, let's just eat in. Okay, that's fine. I threw an idea out there. You don't have to say yes. And that's sort of where my comment is today, is that it's okay to say no. Explain to the person so you're not judged, but it's okay to say no. Also, if something's happening, don't hesitate to say, what are you doing? So if you're coming into the kitchen, just using this dinner thing idea, coming into the kitchen going, I'm going to start cooking supper, and somebody's cooking, it's okay to say, okay, what's going on? I was about to start supper. Or, can you just hold on for 5 minutes? I want to make myself some toast and peanut butter or something, just using my example. But communicate to people. Talk to each other. Nobody's right or wrong here. It's just you need to communicate and express how you're feeling about things without getting aggressive, which is what I'm finding now, that people are getting angry. We went through a little spell where everybody seemed to be decompressing and starting to talk nicely, at least online. And maybe it's just what my algorithms are sending me. But I'm finding people are becoming angry, or what I'm finding, or what's coming to me on my shorts and my YouTubes and my things like that, it's people full of just anger because things aren't going the way they should be. So when we communicate, we need to make sure it's neutral and not gaslight. Like, don't look for somebody to blame. So the world's upside down and backwards, yelling and screaming at somebody because it's not going the way you think it should is not a constructive means of communicating. So let's use the most recent thing, COVID. understand everybody was frustrated. There was restrictions put down. And the same thing actually, humorously, happened with the Spanish flu, like 100 years ago. When it happened, everybody's, you can't tell me what to do, Mama. It was because everybody's afraid and terrified. And they didn't know what this virus was and what was it going to do. And they were hearing about people dying and all these overly cautious experts telling them to do this and keep 6 feet and put your masks on and all the rest of it. And people were getting upset and terrified. And so instead of communicating and discussing how you felt, people were just getting angry. And all it did was get everybody's backs up. So the yelling and screaming accomplishes nothing. And this is from somebody who used to had a temper, a matched red hair massively. And in retrospect, I know that it's still there. I just have come to the conclusion that yelling and screaming doesn't really solve anything. It doesn't accomplish anything. So one of the hard lessons I've had was that now has come to fruition because it's not accomplishing anything, is when I learned the lesson when my kids were teenagers and they were pissing me off completely because they're teenagers, and as Jake from Kitchen Scraps said, he calls it the brat stage of being a teenager. I was so fuming mad at probably my youngest, probably my youngest, because she knew how to push the buttons the best. I put my shoes on and just started walking. I was livid. I counted to 10, 15 times. And I just put my shoes on, and unfortunately I put the wrong shoes on. And this officer in his cruiser pulled up beside me and said, "Ma'am, are you okay?" I went, "I'll be fine." And he sort of looked at me and says, "I've been driving around looking for a lost cow," which is humorous. And he said, "I have driven past you twice walking. Are you okay?" I says, "No, I'm just really fuming, spitting mad at my teenagers right now. And I figured going for a walk and venting my anger out this way was a whole lot better than trying to kill them, figuratively speaking." And he looked at me and said, "Oh, I wish more people had that common sense." He said, "I wouldn't have so many domestic violence issues to deal with." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I know if I yelled and screamed at home right now, none of it would click with them at all. So I had to go cool off." And then it was April. I said, "My only regret is I wore the wrong shoes. I threw the shoes on that were the easiest to throw on and then go for the walk or go do something that was going to let me calm down and refocus, because I do have a temper. I have a temper and a half. And it's learning to keep it under control or not let it build might be a better way of putting it. Constantly let the pressure valve go. And the same thing goes with my students. But then I put teacher hat on. The teacher hat's different than the other hat that I normally wear. Okay? But it's learning to communicate and not let that frustration and that anger of whatever the situation is get out of control. Because if you keep it bottled up, eventually it will explode. And you might say something you really shouldn't say. Or you may say it in a way you didn't mean to say it, so it's construed the wrong way. So that's sort of my thing. Anyways, that's my short one for tonight. I do have an extra sideline talking about tariffs and buying Canadian and all the rest of it, is that on one of my Facebook feeds, somebody came up with, I know Chapters and Indigo are Canadian companies, but how do I figure out which one are Canadian authors versus American authors, because I don't want to support them? And mine is, guys, first of all, let's boycott the big industries. So food companies that we can get the product here. So buy Armstrong cheese versus Kraft cheese, because Armstrong cheese is ours. Meow Mix, the little soft cans of Meow Mix, that's American. find a Canadian brand, which if you go to Pet Value, they've got Canadian brands in there. But if you're going to look for a book and your favorite author happens to be Stephen King, keep buying it. Like, yes, we want to boycott the American big industries. Go for it. Like, please boycott Amazon. I have more and more pet peeves with Amazon. But Indigo's already bought those books. Just speaking of Stephen King, right? They already bought those books. Those books are on the shelf, bought. And there's Dylan Hollis. He is an American YouTuber who's written cookbooks, vintage cookbooks and American baking, and he's got 2 out now. Well, they're already on the shelves at Indigo. Indigo's already bought them. So not buying them, the one you're hurting is Indigo. Okay? But you're also hurting the little guy, and that's not who we want. Okay? So tomorrow's video, I'll get the words out, is another Canadian company. It's Canadian company number 5. And it's one that I have used, I've purchased from. I really like them. But we'll do the website tomorrow, their website. This is one of their books. It's called Mox and More. It's an Indigenous company out of Alberta. And all their stuff is designed by First Nations artists. So, this one is just like literally, it's just a little notebook. I picked it up because I like the front cover. They have jigsaw puzzles. They have houseware stuff. Anyways, we'll go through the website tomorrow. But my point on this one is they also happen to get Indigenous designs out of First Nations out of the U.S. And so, yes, it's really nice to say we want to boycott the U.S., but if we boycott the American First Nations people, we're hurting those people. We're not really hurting the big corporations. And the company that's bringing it in is Canadian. It's out of Alberta. Okay? There you go. So, we'll see you tomorrow. And please, not only say, but listen to what people are saying. That's part of communications. Honestly, listen and make sure you're understanding what they're trying to say. As in, okay, is this really what you meant? This is how I interpreted it? Because quite often if I say that, then they go, oh, no, I meant this, miss. Or no, grandma, no, I meant that. Okay? Or yes, that is what I meant. And then you know you're on the same page and you know you're dotting the I's right and you're crossing the T's right and everybody's going in the same way. There you go, guys. Take care. Have a really good day. We'll see you tomorrow. And stay warm.